yes, I can compare. I actually can compare. So initially it was a little bit trying to understand what the new normal was, especially having kids around and all that. So sometimes you have meetings and you have, my son bumping into the screen, photo bombing or video bombing, whatever it is. And just when initially you thought it was embarrassing, you just found out that, it's global. There was this CNN, one of their staff that, was having on national TV, the kid, so it's quite relaxing, and it's something that everyone knew that, okay, this is something they have to deal with, because so it just takes, so many professional, environments, because home is not supposed to be the workplace, so I think there was that, in our minds, we needed to put that together, but in all of it, I think we're a little bit, we're kind of prepared for this in terms of, having your work tool, having your work tool at home to be able to do some of the work, and as much as possible, we're trying to put a lot of things together. We're able to answer emails. So the aspect of work that didn't really need, my team, because of what I do, to be in the office, we're, pulling that through. So compared to the office, I think it's sometimes it's more work, being in the office, because there is more physical activities that needs to be done in the office than working remotely from home. However, it's just the aspect of work that didn't require us to be physically in the office that we were pretty much doing, and I don't think it was bad. So yeah, it was a good balance, which I think many of us have adjusted to. I think it's because of the nature of things. It has become, I think you just have to factor that. You just have to factor that. It's just like there's only so much that you could do from home before now. But when you know that you are going to be working from home for a longer time, you have to get your workstation, you have to get your seat, you have to put the right, things in place to be able to help you achieve that, which is not any different from, the office. So if you want the office to also take that amount of safety, you need to put that much precaution and put the right, structures and everything in place to be able to achieve both working and still being in a conducive and safe environment. So I think we did that well. We've done that excellently well to be able to achieve both. So for favorites, I would say maybe the breakout session. The breakouts, we have different breakouts on different floors, and why that is, it still acts as a meeting point where you don't necessarily have to do work. It's a place where you can take breaks, make tea, snack on something light and all that, and still, to be able to snack on something light and still have that kind of engagement, which you may not necessarily be able to have if you are in your workspace, because you need to maintain some level of decorum, in that space. So I would go for that, and of course it connects, on the floor where I work, it connects, straight to the balcony. So the balcony is also an extension for that space where you can just go and just take natural air, and maybe just get some warmth from the, the cold maybe environments, or conditioned environments, So I believe my vision would count if I am the top person in the organization, but if I want to create an hypothetical case of what more of my expectation, for the future of work is that employers should embrace the new normal. This has come to stay. It has and will change our lives for good. And I hope to see more organizations like ours embrace this hybrid working relationship. And it's kinds of cushion in terms of the overhead costs for staff, as against loss of productive time. Like a place like Lagos, you have high traffic, in and out and all that. And I found out that most people who are able to provide, who pretty much that like their work roles or their work activities requires them to spend more time on laptops to do that. Instead of spending 2 hours, 3 hours on traffic, that time can be put into the work to achieve more. And I've heard friends, colleagues and people say that it's actually more work. But they prefer it to commute, the daily commute and all that and everything, that okay, they have more time to spend with their families, which they may have not had in, God knows, in a long time. Yes, they have gotten around to be able to manage the kids and all that, to be able to say, okay, fine, this is workspace, this is this and all that, but just being close to their family helps them to kind of achieve a kind of work-life balance. So it's like a win-win situation, at the end of the day, to see that if both employers and employees and of course people in their businessmen can achieve the same results, even better results, and everyone is happy, why should you go back to the status quo? Why? It absolutely doesn't make sense. So if you require me to do your work and you have good, would I say, metrics to actually evaluate the quantity or the level of work that you need to do, and at the end of the day I deliver, why do you need me? You don't need to see my face, right? It's the work. And if you take that out, like I mentioned much earlier in our personal conversation, then maybe you are looking at, I don't know, maybe a religious setting or something that doesn't depict work. But if the goal of work is not necessarily to see my face and see your face, but to get the work done, and that is done, then I don't necessarily need to see your face in person or see you in person. So if they can achieve that, then not if they can achieve, I know they can achieve that. Many people are just being too lazy to put in the right structures or infrastructures in place to be able to achieve that. If they are able to do that, they'll find out that people are more productive. There's more time gain in terms of doing work, and I believe strongly that it's going to be a win-win situation, which I would encourage more people to look into it more, because really you can't tell how things will turn out, right? You can't really plan any physical activity after what we saw in 2019 coming into 2020. So why build castles in the air? Why? It just doesn't make sense. So if the world is going global, or it has gone global, you have more of cloud implementation, cloud hosting services and all that, why not deploy it? Because I know there were many businesses that went out, during the whole, it died. And because they had built, everything on physical, interaction, physical sales, physical this and all that, it died. So is that not enough lesson for more organizations to be able to do the right thing? So to me, the vision or my expectation is more employers and employees should embrace it and see it as a gift. Like this 1 year or 2 years is actually a gift for them to embrace and it prepares them for something, even anything that may just maybe go worse than what it is. So the lockdown may extend for 6 months or even much more than that. What happens? Are you ready? So I believe even in schools, the quantitative analysis and the likes of that, they give you an example before they come with the real test. What if this was just an example for a real test? It can go anywhere. So if you don't pay attention to the example that's giving you to be able to tackle the real problem, how are you going to do that when the time comes? So people shouldn't set themselves up to fail. They shouldn't. It doesn't make sense, especially when you have everything at your disposal. You have everything at your disposal and all that. Embrace it and make the most out of it.